Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Just got done doing a recreational kayak video on the Tarpon 105, so don't forget to check that out if you haven't already. I want to do another one here. So this is where the recreational kayak kind of shines with the Tarpon 105. This is another one that's been really popular. This is a Pescador Pro 10 foot made by Perception Kayaks. So where the Tarpon shines as a rec kayak, the Pescador Pro kind of shines in what I call a rec/fishing kayak. So this is for somebody that just wants a good throw and go, as I like to say it. Throw it in the back of a truck, throw it up on top of a car top, take it down to the river or creek, do some quick fishing, maybe not carrying a ton of gear like your larger lake setups or open water setups. Don't get me wrong, guys, these kayaks also shine on the lake, but this one here is going to be perfect for your rivers, your creeks, getting out on some of these creeks, catching some smallmouth bass, maybe crappie fishing. You know, I've heard some stories of a customer we've got here. He caught a striper in this thing, one of those huge striped bass, and it was just pulling him all over the creek. Said he definitely enjoyed the ride. But this one here, it's 10 foot 6 inches technically, so it is kind of they list it as 10 foot. It is a little bit more that 10.5 foot range. 32 inches wide. It's got a 325 pound weight capacity to it. Open storage on the front. Guys, I'm kind of a bigger fan of the open storage on the front with your fishing kayaks. It allows you to access gear while you're out on the water versus only when you're on the shore if you're stuffing it in a hatch. Really large tank well on the back. So again, if you got camp gear, if you got tackle, a tackle crate set up, that's where that goes. You got the bungee system in there to kind of hold that down. You can pile on top, and you're not fishing the stuff in and out of the inside of the boat. So the hatch storage, and again, I'm not going to go too far on this, but hatch storages are great. I find a lot of customers buy a kayak because it has hatch storage, and then they find that they don't use it a whole lot because of the hassle of getting in and out. There's a purpose for them, don't get me wrong. If you're camping, if you're doing a multi-day float trip, sometimes it's really nice to stuff that gear that you don't necessarily need when you're out on the water inside the kayak. But you can also store a lot of stuff on top, and it allows you to pile up, and those bungees and straps are going to hold it down really nicely. But anyway, retail on the Pescador Pro 10 is $919. They do sell it in a 12 foot version, and I've got one of those up on the wall here. They retail for $1,059 this year. It's this one here. So I want you to kind of look at the size of the storage here and the length of the storage here. Your cockpit on a 12 foot version is going to be the same as the 10 foot. You're just going to get a much longer storage on that back end there. You can see it comes to a point a little bit more. The paddling is going to be a little easier on a 12 foot kayak as typical. And I'm kind of standing a little farther back there, but you can see up top there, much bigger than maybe the smaller. So that's what you get with 10 versus 12 typically. Not all the time, but typically on a recreational kayak. Real nice frame seating. It's kind of that tighter mesh that you've seen maybe with the Perception Outlaw. It's the exact same seat, but this will give you, again, nice deck space, adjustable foot pegs. You got a little gear storage pod there. That's also good to put your maybe transducer. There's a lot of people that do that transducer in there, and you got a little scupper hole you see here. There's a transducer setup on the bottom of this kayak, so you can mount your transducer up there, and it kind of keeps it shielded. I'll show you that real quick. So right there, that hole there in the middle, that is where you can even see it's got the screws there. A lot of your transducer setups can mount in there, and then you can have your wiring going from the pod in here. If you're not running a depth finder, again, I understand it's a kayak. Small gear storage. If you're storing your phone in there, make sure you invest in some kind of waterproof pouch. You can see it's not huge. It's just meant for just kind of give you something without sacrificing the open deck space. Nice little drink holder. It's kind of deep in there, so that will help with your taller tumblers. I wouldn't go too big on those. That's really going to shine with maybe a can with a koozie on it, which is typical for rivers and creeks. So the mesh seat here, this is the high position, but I call it the level position. You can kind of see it sits pretty level with the boat side, but it pulls forward and the back end drops down to this. I'll show you here. So now you can see the front end stays the same level. The back end drops down a little bit. That gives you that support on the back of your legs. It makes for a more relaxed position, but it also, that's going to be your better paddle position. You're sitting a little bit lower in the boat. You're closer to the water. That center of gravity moves down a little bit more. So keep that in mind as well. That higher position's nice if you're experienced and don't have any issues with stability. But that lower position, you're going to like it a lot more, the performance of it. You do have the accessory rails here on the side. These are composite. They're not aluminum. Your higher end boats will have those aluminum rails, but these will hold. It's got a little recessed channel that these sit into, so you don't have to worry about the flexing so much with like maybe a fishing rod holder. But these are great for additional paddle holders, cup holders. Any accessory that Yak Attack makes will fit on these. And then also one thing that, and I like that they do this, they've got the paddle holder here. So this bungee that, goes onto that hook, you can unhook that. You can even see it's got that recessed area for your paddle to sit in, and that bungee goes over the top of it. Keep in mind though, depending on what kind of river or floating you're doing, if you get to a point where you need to get that paddle really quickly, say you're floating into something, a log or an obstruction that you need to grab that quick, the first thing you're going to do in a panic is lose your motor function. So you're going to be fumbling around with that. Really, just keep that in mind. A lot of people like to have those kind of pop and lock paddle holders, maybe even mount them to the gear track. It allows you to just kind of get it out real quick in a bind. It does happen out there, guys. So these ports here, you see, those are rod holders. You can set them back. They do set straight up. So again, keep that in mind if you're on a river. Some people like to have those maybe back at an angle in case you're getting into kind of trees or brush where they can hook your rods, because again, they're going to set up pretty high up here. But that's it. Great kayak. Really kind of a hybrid, what I would call it, of a recreational kayak and fishing kayak. People love them because they're lightweight, they're durable, they're rotomolded. That means they're made like your Yeti coolers are and everything. It's a one-piece construction. It's made here in the U.S., which as is all of our kayaks. If you get, issues with the bottom of the boat, cracks or punctures, you can plastic weld these. That's the benefit of buying rotomolded. So you see the two-piece construction kayaks at your big box stores. You can't plastic weld those. I've seen people try it, but it's not going to be a very good fix. And these are going to last you a lot longer. And, there's cheaper rotomolded kayaks out there. These are probably one of the better qualities, and in my opinion, one of the better values out there. So it's below that $1,000 price range. It's going to last you for as long as you want to have that kayak. And also, again, there's a lot of comfort features on there. That frame seating, which is kind of where the industry is going for comfort, and it's adjustable high and low. So that does help you change the way your boat handles. If you're wanting to fish from a higher position, you can do it on there. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching again. Again, I always appreciate any likes, any subscribes. It helps the channel out. Drop some comments on there if you've owned this boat, or if you're looking at this boat, you have any additional questions. Again, I'm here to help you with that. But anyways, we'll see you on the next video. Thanks a lot, everybody.